Hi everyone, my name is Tendai from CRMCS, and today we're going to be looking at a project we did with a company called Spark365, working with our DocDrive product. So Spark mainly is a company that uses two business units, one in Poland and one in the UK. So initially what they wanted was DocDrive to work with both business units. Next stage of the video, I'll be going through the configuration we did with DocDrive, the entities they wanted DocDrive to work with, and also the business rules that we have set up. Welcome to the second stage of the video. So as mentioned in the previous video, this video I'll be mainly going through the configuration we did to set up DocDrive to work with Spark and exactly how they wanted, setting up the business units. So I'll just go through that as a first stage. So how DocDrive works is we can set up DocDrive to work with different entities within the company itself. So if we navigate to entities, this is in our DocDrive app. So first stage was initially to set up the business unit. As I mentioned before, Spark has two business units that they work with. So initially what they wanted is if a user is in one business unit, that to lead to that business unit, and then if another user is working in the Poland business unit, they want DocDrive to work with that as well. So what we do is we set up the entity that they wanted. So they had the business unit entity within the company. So what we did is we set up two rules. So initially what we're doing here is we're telling DocDrive what to do. So what do we want DocDrive to do when a user is now obviously working with the business unit? So the first rule we set was a site rule. So this rule basically means that we will have a site that is a SharePoint site for each business rule. For each business unit. And from that being the first rule, our second rule was a record location rule where we would have a subsite per business unit. So as mentioned before, we've got two business units. We've got the Poland and we've got the UK business unit. So we would have a subsite for each of those business units. And so this is how we initially set them up. If I go through the first one, this is how we configure our DocDrive to set up that kind of rule. So we've got the site rule where we tell DocDrive what we want is we want it to be a site. Then we set that up against the lookup entity, which is the business unit. And that's initially how we kind of set it up. So business unit does work in a way it's our top level within the entities, what everything else would look up to. And if we go to our second rule, this is where we had the subsite per business unit. So set up the same thing. So this becomes a record location rule and also a site. And that being in the division now. So is that going to be in the Poland or is that going to be in the UK division? So we set this up. And that was being our first entity that Spark wanted us to work with. Moving on, Spark wanted to work with other different entities. As you can see here, we've got case, company, opportunity, and sales order entity. So to get into a bit more detail in regards to these is if we go into the opportunity entity. So Spark also wanted DocDrive to work with this entity. We set up three rules with this entity. So we had a lookup to the company, we had opportunities, this is another rule, and we had the record location rule, which is the folder per opportunity. So initially, what we are telling DocDrive to do here is every opportunity has a company. So what we want DocDrive to do is we want DocDrive from our first rule, we want DocDrive to look up to that company, to that related record, to that related company. And this is how we set it up. So we've got our lookup to company. This is a lookup to the parent record rule. And this being a lookup. And we kind of map it in a field more like, because in the sense that the lookup is through the field. So we do that and we get that from the parent account ID. And that's the field we would want to do that. Then that goes from our lookup rule. Moving on to the second part, we have our bucket location rule. This rule mainly is us telling DocDrive that once we have done the lookup to the company, we want an opportunities folder created in that lookup. So we've got the company, then in that company, we want DocDrive to create an opportunity in that company, sorry. So what we have here is our rule. So we've got the bucket location rule. We've got the rule type is a folder because we want a folder to be created. And this one, the map type is fixed mapping. So what this basically means, it's not going to change. Like if, let's say, if we're working with a field, it's just going to be one term that is opportunities, and that's what it's going to be like. Then that finishes our second rule. Then moving on to the third rule. Our third rule is a folder per opportunity. So what this, if we start from the top where we've got our company right at the top from the business unit. So we've got a company, then we've made the rule where we have DocDrive to create an opportunities folder. From creating that opportunities folder, we now have a rule where we're going to be creating a folder per opportunity. So a company can have multiple opportunities in there. So this is what we're just basically doing with this rule, is we're telling DocDrive to create a folder per each opportunity that will be created. So as we can see, the rule type, rule subtype is a folder. This will be a field mapping. So what we're telling DocDrive to do here is the name of the folder, if we get it from this field, which is the opportunity ID. So that's what we've done here, and that kind of finishes up our DocDrive rules. So we've basically told DocDrive with the opportunity entity to look up to the company, create an opportunities folder, and create a folder per opportunity. And moving on now, looking into the other entities that we have, we've kind of more or less done the same thing with these entities. So we've got the case entity, we're going to look up to the company, we're going to have a cases folder, and we're going to have a folder per each case that will be created against that company. This company, this is the one that will look up to the business unit, as the business unit being the main top level. So from the business, so if we have, for example, the UK business unit, under that UK business unit, we're going to have companies, then the opportunities cases would fall under that. So this is what we have with the company entity. Then the last entity we have, I actually remember Spark reached out to us a couple months after actually wanting to work with the sales order entity now, and this is something we configured in for them. So more or less of the same setup. We're going to have a look up to the company, we're going to have a sales order folder, and we're going to have a folder per sales order. So these are the entities that we have configured DocDrive to work with. As we can see, it's not that many entities that we have, but these are the ones that we have configured for DocDrive to work with. So the next stage in the video will be playing this back now, showing you how this works with the different business units that we have, showing how the folders would work, and how we create each and every single, if it's going to be an opportunity, a company, or a case, or a sales. And welcome to the next stage of the video. So in this stage, we're mainly going to be going through the playback of what we have configured DocDrive to do. So what we do also with DocDrive is we do input our documents tab in here, where we will link DocDrive in there. So this is where you'll be able to see all the elements and different elements of DocDrive, putting it into play. So just to give you a taste, I can upload documents into here. So if I just upload any random test document that we have, and we can see this document here. So it's kind of put it a bit more into play with the rules that we have put in from the configuration. Is if we hit our location, so we can see, the first thing we can see is we have the in the UK business unit. So we know that opportunity is operating from the UK business unit. As you can see here, CRMCS test, this is our company. So this is our company folder that we have. So this goes into play where we have that lookup rule. So what DocDrive has done is looked up to that company, to the related company, and in that related company comes into our second rule, where we put a rule in there to create an opportunities folder. And from that opportunities folder, our last rule, where we create a folder per opportunities. So we can also put this into another perspective, is if we click into our company, we can see now the opportunities folder that we have, and this is the opportunity, this is the folder per opportunity that we have. So And also we can view this here, so whatever documents we drag into here, we can drag documents in, upload them manually. They will also show up in the SharePoint. So to put this to the test with the other business unit, which is the Poland, is I already have a business an opportunity which was open to make it a bit easier. So same thing, if we navigate to documents, just wait that to load up. So initially there's no documents in there, that's still fine, that's not a problem at all. If we hit location, first thing we can see as well is it's taken us to the Poland business unit. From the Poland business unit, as you can see, we have our folder here, Zabka. We've got the opportunities folder, and we have the folder for this opportunity. So if we were to create another opportunity that's linked to our Zabka company, initially that folder would also show up here, and so on and so on. Our cases entity, this is also the one we have configured in. If I was just to click into any of these, we have our documents tab in there. So everything that all the documents we upload are relating to this case. So we've got a document in there, so we've got a test document in there. So if I was to hit location, we would now be able to see that process once again. So we've got our company CRMCS test, we're in the UK business unit, we've got our cases folder, and we have this case, the CRMCS test, and we've got the, I think that's picking up from the case ID. So if we were to go to CRMCS test, same thing, as you can see, we've got our cases folder, we've also got opportunities folder. If we click in here, we can see the different cases that we have, that rule that comes into play where we have each folder per case. Same thing with opportunities, we can also do that and literally view all those folders depending on how many opportunities that we have. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the video. I mean, if you have any questions, always reach out to us and we're more than happy to help. Thank you very much.